expect to run the car. Even the road cars, we encourage you to take them on circuits and adjust the shocks and things, but everything is fully exploded. So you can basically build the car up from scratch again. For me as a sales guy, this is a great tool. I sell cars all across the world. Obviously the language barrier, I'm from Hessel, just outside of Hull, so I don't speak Japanese to regulations, so we don't have to have a road car, where a lot of other manufacturers have a big constraint. They have to start with a road car, so we effectively had a blank sheet of paper. So the car's very, very trick, lots of adjustments, lots of little gurney strips to change it, so different analysis going on there. So we went to the...
And you only get paid for the set hours, there's no overtime. Ashley's probably worked 22 weekends of this year, full weekends in the physical.
He raced at Le Mans in 2009, doing very, very well. They were in the top 10 in the 13th hour. A fuel line failure and a pretty bad fire at 200 miles an hour. Luckily the driver which was driving managed to park it near a marshal's post and put it out pretty quick, and it was simply a simple connector which had failed, and it could have popped and clicked back together and we could have limped back to the pits and maybe finished the race, but there's a rule at Le Mans where the driver cannot go, I think it's more than 5 or 10 metres from the car. Traction control, 5 settings of how heavy you want the steering, and 6 settings of how quick you want the gear change. Quite bizarre when everybody says, well, don't you want it the fastest all the time? Definitely not. If it's wet, monsoon conditions, you may, as you're going down the gears, this does what's called auto blip. So you can be doing 200 miles an hour down the Mulsanne at Le Mans, and I'm off into the first chicane, it's third gear, so you can go down 3 and you brake and it does everything for you. But if you have the gear change on the wrong setting, it'll give you too much of a blip and you can lock the rear wheels up and lose the car just on the down change. So Mansell saw this and he's looking for his H pattern effectively, sort of thing. So we did an evening in here at night, all the lights turned off, he had his radio kit on, his helmet, and we're just firing instructions so he can feel his way around. Because the last thing you imagine as a driver, pitch black, and I'm in pitch black, you've got serious lights which you can barely see anything in front of you, no street lights, you're in the forest, doing 220 miles an hour in this. There's a GT2 Ferrari maybe doing 180 for the gearbox. This is an upright which we create, and I said we try and make as many parts as we can ourselves, so this is machined from solid. It's our design, it's got our part numbers, and it's the only one allowed. Because we was a racing team before I was a manufacturer, we like to feel we've inherited and actually pioneered a lot of great. Use our loan box Brent 3 because it has to come back in, we rebuild it. So we do support them very well. You can see differentials are all sealed here. Wiring harnesses are made here. We make pretty much most of the looms. The road car side of it, we've taken a lot of advice on the road car loom. Last thing we want in the Ginetta road cars. People buy caterhams in a great fun little car, wind in your face, but nothing as substantial as this. This is backed by the FIA, stamped by the FIA. We use T45 for the tubing. Very expensive now, hard to source, has to come from the States. You can see the parts are all laser cut, so you get a great mate with the next component. And that results in us getting a uniform weld all the way around there, very, very strong weld. The jigs, we build really from the front backwards, so any cumulative error, it won't work. You see key areas of the chassis are jigged, so rear damper pickup points, here where we pick up on the front damper. If there's any error, it won't fit. And the last thing I want as a driver, if somebody makes an adjustment to the suspension, somebody changes the bump, I want to feel that, where if you've got a chassis which is not quite, is it what's changing? Is it the chassis which is the problem, or is it the damping? So the cars are 100% repeated. The car, see if it works out the phone, they effectively cover it in filler, and we can create a splash mold. So you can get 2 to 3 sets of carbon fibre parts off the splash mold. It's not productionised, you can't really repeat it, but you can see if the part works. So instead of wasting 5 or 6 weeks and all the cost of designing something, shipping out something to make one, effectively a day, 2 days, we can have the carbon fibre part, try it on the car, off the government to develop this further. And these guys have never produced anything, no idea how to productionise a car or a part and actually make it in quantities and reliability, and they got all the backing. So a little bit annoyed, and we've kind of parked the car up. We've used it for certain events. This is the only car to actually drive through the service tunnel in the Channel Tunnel. There's a service tunnel. John Surtees drove through there. It's a different little events, and it does rallies. It goes to Le Mans in the drivers' parade. But for me, I don't know if anybody's got an electric car, but I absolutely hate it. Whether it's different fuel cells they use in the future, hydrogen, I don't know, but the technology at the moment is far too expensive and it doesn't do the job. So different directors, different businesses are obviously.
Are all the race cars right outside?
No, we started off, again naively as a racing team, they were all right and drive and we lost a lot of sales abroad. The UK was not an issue, but you cannot get a European driver to come, well, should we say gentleman driver, they will not drive the right and drive car. Even with the sequential tax, when somebody wants to bring something into Brazil, so that car was purchased 2 years ago, £72,000, and effectively what we do for the Brazilian, when they import it, and I've just been stung for £22,000 tax bill on that car. And I didn't even ask for it to come back. Can't get hold of the customer. What the hell do you do? So,
Yeah, we got cars going to town.
yeah, but it sounds like he'll come and ask for his car back.
Somebody check the bill.
No. It's not. We export it.